What's up, freight brokers? I hope you're well. I hope your families are well. Today I want to talk to you about if new freight brokers should work with new or inexperienced truck drivers, right? Because we know we all have to get started somewhere. Most of us start from the same point. We get started in the business from zero, and we have to try and establish ourselves, right? So when we first get started, truck drivers and freight brokers have something in common. Matter of fact, we have quite a bit in common, right? Number one, we're both new business owners, and we both are trying to get our business off of the ground, trying to make a successful business, trying to make money, right? We know that we have to get customers in order to do that. Now, we have some of the same challenges also when we first start, right? As a new freight broker, when you first get started, you don't have any established credit, right? You haven't paid any carriers, so carriers don't know that you will pay them because they don't have any credit history to look at to say what your payment history is. How do you usually pay, right? And a lot of them use factoring companies, and those factoring companies are not going to approve you because you are a new freight broker without established credit. You have what we reference as an N, as in November rating, meaning you're too new to rate. Now, as a truck driver, he has some of those same challenges. He doesn't have to get any credit, so to speak, like you do, but he does have to build a reputation. He has to establish himself in this business. And when you're not established, when you're a new truck driver, there are a lot of freight brokerages, especially the bigger freight brokerages. They don't work with new truck drivers. They'll sometimes require that a driver have a minimum of 6 months since his motor carrier authority was issued, and some even require a 12-month minimum. So there are definitely some commonalities that exist with a new freight broker and a new truck driver. And we both can position ourselves to help one another. As a freight broker, I want to get as much freight as I can possibly get. That way I can keep truckers loaded, I can keep the wheels turning, keep them with consistent freight. They can help me out a whole lot by making it so that I don't have to go through those credit approvals. He's going to trust me to pay him. We're going to go through my factoring company. We don't have to use an additional factoring company. We can use that one. He trusts that I'm going to pay him because we've established a relationship. That's also very important in this business, that we establish relationships, help them to understand who we are, what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and let them know for certain your number one priority is to make sure that they get paid. And this will help your freight brokerage out immensely because now you've been paying a carrier. You've been paying that carrier over time. That carrier can be a reference for you and say that you've paid them. This is the amount that you've paid them, and this is how long you've been paying them. And that will help you to establish credit quicker than anything else. It's going to help you to go from a N rating to a B or A rating relatively quickly. So as soon as you can get freight, the better, because then once you have freight, then you can start getting with carriers, moving that freight to establish yourself as a brokerage, to establish your credit. But now there are also downsides to anything that we do, and we need to understand what the downside is to working with new carriers. Now, I think sometimes we underestimate all of the things that have to go right in order to go from pickup to delivery to you receiving those clean bills in your hand to get the invoice process started, right? There's a lot that has to go right. And what happens a lot of times is that when you're working with an experienced truck driver, he can see things before you can see them. And he can make you aware of what's happening and what you need to do sometimes because he has experience, because he's done this over and over again. He knows what to expect, and he's your eyes and ears. He can give you a heads up sometimes and get you ahead of the ball. But now when you're dealing with someone who does not have that experience, who's on the same experience level as you are, then there's more figuring out to do on your own part because that person just does not have the experience yet. And you certainly won't have the same oversight that you would have with an experienced truck driver. Experience is a big thing in this business, no two ways about it. But there will be times when you don't have as much access to experienced drivers when you first get started, for example. So you'll have to look at your business and decide whether or not it's worth taking a chance on an inexperienced driver. Experience also comes into play when it comes to just getting your load from point A to point B, right? Because think about it, there's a lot that goes on in the highways. It's very dangerous out there for cars. It's even more dangerous for trucks. There's a lot of moving parts. A lot of dangerous things happen on the highway every day. If you talk to any truck driver, he can tell you nightmare stories about what he's seen on the highway. At the end of the day, you'll have to decide as the freight broker business owner if the risk is worth the reward. For me and my freight brokerage, it certainly is. I am looking to work with new carriers because I realize that we can help each other. I can do a whole lot for their business and they certainly can help me in mine. So I'm looking for those type of carriers when I get started. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's my 5-video series and it's titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It gives you a chance to come into my office with me and watch me as I move loads. I talk to shippers and carriers in hopes of giving you a better understanding of how this business works. And then if you're interested in learning more about how we go out and find the shippers that we do business with, how we get in contact with those shipping managers, I'll leave a free video right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top because the bottom is much too crowded.